Hello, it's Bob Pandolfo on Tuesday, October 14th, 2025. Welcome to Power Pace with Pandy. And I'm going to talk a little bit about speed handicapping and handicapping using the Triple Edge handicapping system, my new computer handicapping system. And I also want to talk a little bit about betting and the CAWs, the computer assisted wagering that people complain about. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over the card from a couple days ago, Santa Anita. And let's just say that you were out to have a good time. You just wanted some entertainment. You're going to play every race, and you're going to play $10 a race. Just real simple. You're going to try to look for an overlay, and key it with two horses in exacta boxes for $2 exacta boxes and $2 to win on the horse. That's it. The only stipulation is that if one of the races, if there's a horse that looks like a lock, you're going to skip that race. All right. And I'll show you what I mean. So we're going to start out in the first race. So again, using the Triple Edge system, which is right here, we're going to sort on average speed, which is the average speed figure. So you can see that the 1, 3, 4 are all in the 90s. As it turned out, the 1 and 3 were the favorite and second choice, and they're the morning line favorite and second choice. So the 4 horse was the value. If you're looking at it, again, we're going to play the highest odds of the contenders. And that one won and paid $8.40. So you would play $2 exacta box, key box is 4 with the 1, 3. So in this case, the exacta paid $21.40. So that was a good start for a $10 bet. It got back, let's see, about $29 and change for $10. All right, second race. So the second race, again, we're going to sort on speed. So you can see the 7 horses ranked on top. That's the horse who won, but he was a big favorite. But here the bet would have been the 8 horse, because the 8 horse is ranked second, and the 8 horse went off at 10.90 to 1. So I would have keyed the 8 and would have lost that bet, the win bet and the exacta bets. Go to the third race, sort again on speed. Now here, the 2 horse is 5.70 to 1, and the 4 horse, shot to you drop, is 3 to 1, and the 1 horse, you can see they're all ranked within 1 point. These top 3, these are the obvious 3 contenders on speed. The 1 horse was 10 to 1. So that would be the bet, and that would be using the bet the 10 to win. I mean the 1 to win, $2 to win, and key with the 2, 4 exactas. So that would again be a $10 bet, because $2 exactas when you're using 1 with 2 horses would be $8, and then $2 to win. So this one won and paid $22.80, get back $22.80, and the exacta paid $130.40. Again, I'll talk a little bit about the odds and value and the CAWs a little bit later in the video. So we go to the fourth race, and here the bet's going to be probably one of these 3, whichever one's the highest odds, the 4, the 6, or the 8. So you can see that the 4 is the favorite, the 6 horse is the second choice. So the 8, one of these days, would be the bet, because that's the highest odds, and it paid $15.80. And you would key it, the 8 and exactas with the 4 and 6, and the 8-4 exacta came in and paid, so what is it, like $87.20. So one of these days in the fourth race, as you can see, just taking the top contenders using on speed, like the top 3 contenders, and picking out the highest odds and playing that one. The 4 and the 6 both went off as first and second choice. So again, pretty obvious that you'd want, the value play was the 8. We go to the fifth race. Now this is the race that I wouldn't bet. Now if you did bet it, it's no big deal. I mean, if you're at the track, you want to bet every race, it wouldn't have really, so you would have lost a few bucks in the race. We could, this horse, as you can see, has a 12-point advantage, and has over here on speed, class, and contenders. This is also a big advantage. It doesn't look like a very competitive race. You only have 3 horses that qualified for the SCC rating. This horse has the field strength also is significantly higher. You know, he's got a 10-point advantage over the next horse. Here, you know, this is like a 28-point advantage. And again, there's only 3 SCC ranks and a big speed figure advantage. So this would have been a pass unless you just want to bet the 2 in some sort of double or something. But I mean, the horse won easily, paid $3. But if you were using the other method, you would have bet either the 4 or the 5. And let's see, you would have bet the 4 horse. The 4 horse went off at 9-1. That would have been the bet. If you just, you know, you're going to continue with the value. But normally I wouldn't play against a horse that looks this good, unless the horse was coming off like a year's layoff or something. You know, there was some kind of fishy thing about it. But this horse looked like a lock. So then we go down to the 6th race. Again, sorting on speed. So you have the 3, the 1, 2. Now here it's tough because you could also, you know, look at the 5, but let's just stick to the top 3. 3, 1, 2. So the 3 was 6-1, the 1 was 790-1, and the 2 was 6-1. So the 1 would have been the bet. And he finished second. The thing is, you wouldn't have had the exacta, so you would have lost the win bet. And you would have played the 1 with the 2 and 3, and it came out the 4. So that would have been a lose there of $10, even though the 1 horse ran well. Then you go down to the 7th race, again, sort on speed. It's the 1, 3, 7. The 1 went off the favorite. The 3 went off second choice. The 7 went off at 9-2. So that would have been the key. You would have played the 7 with the 1 and 3 in exacta boxes. And it came out 7-1, and it paid $49.80. So that was a nice exacta for that horse. What's nice about this is, you know, this card at Santa Anita, you had, you know, playable fields where they weren't real small fields, but they weren't huge fields for most of the races, which gives you a better chance of winning. And you could still, as you can see, you could still get value. There were a few big fields like this next race. This is one of the tougher races on the card. So again, you rank on speed. And it's close between the 1, 4, 6, 9, 10. They all, you know, have similar figures, but let's again stick to the top 3. So between the 1, the 4, and the 9, you could see that the 1 is 5-2, so he's, you know, he would not be a key. The 4 is 9-1, and the 9 is 6-1. So the 4 would have been the key. He ran out. That would have been a loss of $10 in that race. That was a very wide open race. So, you know, figured to be tough to hit. Then you get down to race number 9, shared futures. You got the 4, 6, and 7. The 4 is 7-2. The 7 goes off the second choice, and the 6 goes off the favorite. So out of the 3, the 4 is the highest odds, so that would be the key. You key to 4 with the 6 and 7. You get the win bet of $9, but you lose the exacta. So you lose $1. So that's good. That's why you play the win bet. This, what I'm playing here, this method is you know, more designed as an exacta play. The $2 win bet is really a saver in case you miss the exacta, and in this particular case, it bails you out. Then we get to the 10th race. 10th race, you rank them on speed, 6, 9, 8. Now here again, it's an obvious play on the 9 horse because the 6 goes off at 5-2. The 8 goes off at 4-1. So this is the favorite and the second choice. But the 9, who's ranked second on speed, wins and pays $50.40. And of course, you're going to key the 9 with the 6 and the 8. And the exacta paid huge here. Let's see, I have it marked down here. $381.60. So this exacta paid, you know, $380. I mean, that was quite a price considering that the horse, you know, this horse had raced once on dirt. Now he was moving to turf, but he had a good turf pedigree. He had a good turf pedigree, good trainer. Second time out is a good long shot angle. So what happened here? You know, you look at this and you say, geez, how can a horse who's, you know, ranked nicely here in this system pay such a high price? Again, this is where the CAWs come into effect. So people say, well, CAWs, it's computer generated betting, right? So you have these people have these, they're making these big bets on all different combinations in a race. They spread out their money. They're basically hedging. So the computer makes the bets for them. And this can be like several $1,000,000 on a card that goes into the pools. And it does affect the odds on different horses. So some people say, oh, my horse paid $6, and that's because the CAW knocked them down. People complain about this, or the odds drop after the race starts. So the horse is 5-1 when the horses get in the gate. Then they break out of the gate and they drop from 5-1 to 2-1, and people say, oh, that's a CAW and it's terrible, and there's all these complaints. The thing is, though, is that it works both ways. Sometimes it helps you. In this particular race, and there were a few races on this card where the CAW betting were wrong. I mean, they didn't make the right choices. Their computer system isn't always right. It's just like anything else. I mean, whether you're handicapping yourself or using a computer system, I mean, nothing's going to be right all the time. And their computer systems are, they're looking for value among all these combinations, and they're betting, and sometimes they put too much money on combinations that lose, and it pushes the odds up on other horses. And in this particular card, there were several overlays where I believe that a couple of these overlays, especially this race, were pushed up because of the CAW money was on the wrong horses. Not only did they bet the 6 and the 8 way too heavily compared to the 9, but they put too much money on the first time starters too. They were spreading around trying to figure out, these combinations. So, and the thing is, whoever programmed this particular, these CAW computers probably didn't put in there that, a horse can improve sharply second time out, and they probably didn't know how to evaluate the pedigree. I mean, this horse is out of a Tappet mare, and the sire, has a lot of grass. This is a good, on both sides of this pedigree, there's plenty of grass. This is a horse, and as you can see here, bred by Calumet Farm. This is a well-bred horse. This 2-year-old, it's a 2-year-old. I think it was a 2-year-old colt. Yeah, 2-year-old colts. So it turned out, got a tremendous overlay here. Now, I want to show you something. So let's just say you played just $10 a race, like I said. And let's just say that you left early and you didn't bet that $50 horse. Right? You left after the 9th race. Even if you didn't bet that race, you would have returned on exactas alone $288.80. On win bets, you would have returned $44.40. So your profit on win bets alone, without that $50 horse, would have been $28.40. And the exact is, let's see, you got a return of $288, and you bet $8 times 9 is $72. So you got a profit of $208, something like that. Yeah, about $208, $210, something like that. I didn't actually do the math, but you just subtract $72 from $288.80. So on win bets and exactas, for just betting $10 a race, even if you missed that huge exacta and the $50 horse, you still had a good day. And all you're doing is using, a computer system and using the average speed, which of course you can't get in the program because the program just doesn't give you average speed. This gives you average speed, but if you're just looking at the PPs, you're not going to get that. You'd have to start taking out your calculator and trying to figure it out. That's the nice thing about these computer systems. And some of these sources, but I didn't go over, some of these sources matched up well. They had other ratings that were good. I mean, even Migo, this $50 horse in the last race, he had a 16 current form rating, the second highest in the race. All right, so now if you bet all the races, including the $50 horse, then you would have gotten back $640 on the exactas, because that exacta was huge, even though it was the top 3 contenders. And on win bets, you would have gotten back $94.80 for a profit of $76.80. Remember, these are just betting $10 a race. I figured it out too that, let's just say you decided you wanted to bet $16 a race, right? And you wanted to play the same thing I just showed you, but you're going to play at $1 trifecta key using the same horses that we keyed, the highest odds of the main contenders, using average speed, over the horses that ranked, right underneath it. So in other words, like here in the second race, if the bet was the 8 horse. This is one of the races we lost, but it would have been the 8 over the 7, 3, 10. All right, and that would have been $6. All right, so here's how you would have done. First race, you can see, you lose $6 on the trifecta. The second race, you lose 12. Well, I threw in another horse here, so here I said you lose $12. But if you played it that with just 3 horses, it would have been $6. Here you lost $6. Here you hit the trifecta for $106.60. Again, this is just using the key horse with the 3 horses that are ranked next. On the average speed. Here you would have lost $6. Here you would have hit the trifecta for $67.70. Here you would have lost $6. Here you would have lost $6 in the 9th race. And then the 10th race, you would have hit the trifecta for $859.80. So as you can see, in the 10th race, sort of an average speed, you're going to play the overlay 9 on top of the 6, 8, 5, right? And it came out 986. And as you can see here, the trifecta for $1 played $859.80. You can see right here, $859.80 for a $6 bet. And this is another situation where if you left early and didn't play a 10th race and didn't have that trifecta, you still would have hit enough trifectas to show a profit on trifectas, even though you're only playing a $6 trifecta, because you would have hit 2 other trifectas, one that paid $106.60 and one that paid $67.70. So you would have had a profit. So this is just a way of betting, and I'll do this sometimes myself. I'll go to a track or something, just say, I'm going to bet every race. I'll bet $10 a race, or I'll bet $20 a race. I don't always do that when I'm at home, or I may only bet 3 or 4 races a day. But the thing is, if I'm at the track or I'm at an OTB or something with some friends or my wife, I want to have a good time. So I'll bet every race, and I'm out. It's betting. People handicap the horses, bet horses for entertainment. The reason why I do this, I sell these systems and everything, is to help people enjoy the sport more, because if you cash more tickets, you're going to have more fun. And these systems give you a better chance of cash, because they're doing things like this system here, the Triple Edge, is my new system, which is speed, class, and form, all in one. That's why I call it the Triple Edge. It's gonna calculate things that would take you, like if you were trying to figure this all out in your head, it could take you all day to do all this. And this is, you just pop it open and you get all these different ratings. So, and that's the thing too. And another thing I wanted to mention too is that the CAW in this particular card, it worked in the favor of people that were using average speed. If you're using my system and looking for the best value, it worked to our advantage, because the CAWs were putting money on the wrong horses, because there were some really nice overlays. And this is a good betting card because, like I said, you've got, like here was a turf race where there's a lot of horses. That was a pretty difficult race, right? But here you only have a 7-horse field. You still got a $22 horse. Here you've only got an 8-horse field and $15 horse. And here was that race with the big favorite. Even this race, it's only 8 horses, and this was a race we didn't have. But the one horse that was the one that was our key went off at good odds, and he was a good bet, even though we didn't make any money that race because we didn't have the exacta. Here's another race, 7 horses. And one of the top contenders that we use, this is the horse we keep, paid $11.20. So, sometimes people, now this was probably the toughest race of the day, which is okay. It's nice to have some big fields like that. People want to take a shot on some really big long shots or something. Here again, $9, 7-horse field, pretty good odds. We didn't have the exacta there, but we had $2 to win on that horse. And then, of course, the last race you had the big overlay. So some people will complain, oh, saying you don't have a lot, you don't have big fields or anything. Well, if every race is like a 12 or 14 horse field, you're probably not going to get that many winners because it becomes much more difficult to handicap. If you can get value like this on a card like this, where you have some 7, 8 horse fields, you can't beat that. You can't beat that because you have a better chance of cashing. The more horses that are in the race, the less chance you have of cashing a ticket. So that's just the way it is. So anyway, I wanted to show you that. Thanks for tuning in. I'll have more videos. There's a few other things I want to show you. In fact, I'm gonna have a video to show you, how to spot the really, really strong favorites very quickly using my systems. In fact, my system, the Power Pace, is really good for that, and that one's on sale now. That really highlights strong favorites. So you can either, key that horse like in a pick 3 or something, or just skip the race if you don't like to bet favorites. Because, you don't want to bet against horses that look like locks, unless there's some reason to be suspicious of the horse. But I'll talk about that in that video. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate if you subscribe to my channel. That's important to me. And I appreciate that you are watching the video in the first place. I'd like to thank you for that. And lots of luck. And thanks for tuning in.